In the judgment room, we uncover the truth behind the lies. Today begins a case that will shock you to your core. Nancy Sherman, a devoted mother of 5, vanished without a trace in April 2017. Her husband claimed she went to Florida for cancer treatment, but Nancy Sherman never had cancer, and the truth is far more sinister than anyone imagined. Nancy Sherman lived what seemed like an ordinary life in Springfield, Ohio. 5 beautiful children, a husband of 15 years, and a community that respected her. She was known as a devoted mother, a reliable friend, and a woman who never missed her children's school events. But on April 4th, 2017, Nancy Sherman walked into her home and was never seen alive again.
Look, I've told this story many times to police, to Nancy's family, to anyone who asked. Nancy had been feeling sick for months, complaining about headaches and fatigue that just wouldn't go away. We found a specialist in Florida, one of the best cancer doctors in the country, who had treated similar cases successfully. She drove down there in mid-April, started treatment immediately, and the doctors were optimistic at first. But the cancer was more advanced than we thought, more aggressive than anyone expected. She passed away peacefully in the hospital down there, surrounded by the medical team. I brought her ashes back myself. The kids and we've been grieving privately.
But Michael's story had problems, big problems that made investigators suspicious from the very beginning. Nancy's sister hadn't heard from her in weeks before the supposed trip to Florida. Her best friend received no goodbye call, no explanation about the cancer diagnosis, nothing. No hospital records existed in Florida under Nancy's name. No death certificate could be located anywhere. No crematorium had any record of Nancy Sherman, and no doctor in Florida had ever treated her for cancer or any other condition. When family members asked for details, Michael refused to provide the name of the hospital, the doctor, or show any medical documentation whatsoever.
Nancy was my closest friend in the neighborhood. We talked every single day, shared everything about our lives, our children, our concerns about everything. If she was seriously ill with cancer, I absolutely would have known about it. If she was planning a major trip to Florida for treatment, she would have told me, asked me to watch her plants, check her mail. The Nancy I knew would never disappear without saying goodbye to her children, without explaining what was happening to them. And Michael, after she supposedly left, he was completely different, cold, distant, angry whenever anyone asked questions about Nancy's condition or when she might return home.
The Springfield police initially treated this as a missing person case. Michael's story seemed plausible enough on the surface, and without a body, there was little immediate evidence of foul play that would warrant a murder investigation. But as weeks turned to months and Nancy's family demanded answers and threatened to hire private investigators, the police took a closer look at Michael's claims. Phone records revealed something shocking. Nancy's cell phone had been turned off permanently on April 4th, 2017, the exact day Michael claimed she left for Florida. But here's what changed everything. Her phone never left Springfield. It was shut down right in their own neighborhood.
When Nancy's family kept pressuring us for answers in late 2017, we decided to dig deeper into Michael's story. We contacted every major hospital in Florida. No record of Nancy Sherman. We checked with cancer specialists throughout the state. No one had ever heard of her. We verified crematoriums, funeral homes, death registries, nothing. Michael claimed he had all the paperwork at home, but when we asked to see it, he said it was too painful to look at. When we pressed harder, he became defensive, then hostile. Red flags were going up everywhere. This wasn't grief. This was the behavior of someone hiding something major.
The more investigators looked into Michael's story, the more it fell apart. He claimed Nancy drove to Florida, but her car was found in their garage. He said she took clothes for a long hospital stay, but neighbors saw him burning clothing in their backyard the day after she supposedly left. He insisted she was too sick to call anyone, but phone records showed she was active on social media just hours before her disappearance. Most suspicious of all, Michael had cleaned out their joint bank account the day before Nancy vanished, withdrawing over $15,000 in cash. When asked about this, Michael claimed it was for medical expenses, but couldn't provide any receipts or documentation.
These accusations are completely unfair and hurtful to my family. Yes, I withdrew money from our account, but that was for Nancy's medical treatment. Those Florida doctors wanted payment up front. Her car stayed here because I drove her to the airport myself, though I understand why that might seem suspicious now. The clothes burning was just old items Nancy wanted disposed of before her trip. She was always particular about cleanliness. And the phone situation, Nancy specifically asked me to turn off her phone so she could focus entirely on her treatment without distractions from work or social media. Every single thing they're questioning has a reasonable explanation. I'm grieving my wife, and these accusations are making an already impossible situation even worse.
But investigators weren't buying Michael's explanations anymore. Airport security footage showed no record of Nancy Sherman boarding any flight to Florida on the dates Michael claimed. Hotel records in Florida showed no reservations under her name. Credit card activities showed no charges in Florida. In fact, no charges anywhere after April 4th, 2017. Nancy's passport was found untouched in their bedroom drawer. Her medical insurance had no claims submitted for any Florida treatments. The evidence was clear. Nancy Sherman never went to Florida. She never received cancer treatment. She never died in a hospital. So where was Nancy Sherman? And what really happened on April 4th, 2017?
I live right next door to the Shermans, and I can tell you something wasn't right that whole week in April. Nancy and Michael were arguing constantly. Loud, angry fights that we could hear through the walls. Nancy seemed scared, like she was trying to leave, but couldn't. On April 3rd, I saw Michael buying large tarps and heavy-duty trash bags at the hardware store. That night, I heard what sounded like furniture being moved around in their garage. Very late, maybe 2 or 3 a.m. The next day, Nancy was gone, and Michael was acting like nothing happened. When I asked where she was, he got defensive and told me to mind my own business. That wasn't the Michael I knew. Something had changed.
As 2017 turned into 2018, Nancy's case went cold. Police had suspicions but no concrete evidence of a crime. Michael maintained his story despite its obvious holes. Nancy's children were told their mother died of cancer in Florida, never knowing the truth about what really happened. But Nancy's sister refused to give up. She kept calling police, kept demanding answers, kept insisting that something terrible had happened to her sister. And in late 2023, nearly 7 years after Nancy's disappearance, her persistence finally paid off. New investigators decided to take a fresh look at the case. What they discovered would expose Michael Sherman's carefully constructed web of lies and reveal the shocking truth about what really happened to Nancy Sherman.
In November 2023, our department decided to reopen Nancy Sherman's case with fresh eyes and new technology. We started by re-interviewing all the original witnesses, and this time people were more willing to talk. They'd been carrying guilt for years, knowing they should have spoken up sooner. Multiple neighbors came forward with information they'd been afraid to share initially. Information about strange sounds from the Sherman house, about Michael's suspicious behavior in the days following Nancy's disappearance, about seeing him dispose of items at unusual hours. We also had new forensic capabilities that weren't available in 2017. The investigation was about to take a dramatic turn that would finally expose the truth.
The new investigation team made a discovery that would change everything. Hidden in Michael Sherman's computer, buried beneath layers of deleted files and supposedly erased hard drives, investigators found evidence that would shatter his alibi completely. What they discovered wasn't just suspicious, it was downright chilling. Michael had been planning something sinister for weeks before Nancy's disappearance. His internet search history revealed a dark obsession with methods of disposal, ways to eliminate evidence, and techniques to make someone disappear without a trace. The man who claimed to be a grieving widower was actually a calculated killer who had been planning his wife's murder for months. But investigators were about to uncover evidence that would shatter Michael's story forever. Audio recordings that captured Nancy's final moments, physical evidence that proved premeditation, and witness testimony that would expose Michael Sherman as the cold-blooded killer he really was. Tomorrow, in part 2 of Nancy Sherman's story, justice finally comes to Springfield, Ohio.